A piece of brilliance from Kylian Mbappe to get that third goal. From a striker's perspective, just talk us through how difficult it is what he did.
Well, when he kind of ran away in this counter break, it reminded me a little bit of what he did in the World Cup in Russia. You know, it goes so fast. You know, he can pick up the pace and he can slow it down. The defender in this moment, with Boateng, he didn't know, should I go closer to him or should I give him 2 or 3 yards, because I don't want him to dribble me now and pass me. And this made a difference, because he was waiting for the split second until Boateng opened his legs, and he shot it through his legs, you know, and this beautiful third goal. And that shows the class that Mbappe has. He's a difference maker. He can punish you any second of the game, and gotta give him a compliment, a real big compliment today of how he played it.
Craig, how do you go about trying defending that sort of attack?
Well,
you run in the dressing room and you start crying because there is nothing much to do. There is nothing much to do. I mean, that's completely crazy. Well, when you have somebody like him, and I play against Thierry Henry, I play against Ronaldo, I play against Jurgen Klinsmann. You know, when you face those type of players who are capable of doing everything, you just pray to make the good choice. So just, you know, launching your leg at a certain time where you think you can catch the ball. And that's the problem with Boateng today. He never had that chance. He never had that chance to launch his leg and try to get the ball, because Mbappe is so fast, is so tricky that you cannot cope with that. It's why he's maybe one of the best strikers in the world, because he's unmanageable for a defender.
Craig?
So when you're playing against somebody like Mbappe, you have to, your positional sense as a defender or a defensive midfielder has to be so much better, because, you know, you have to understand when there's pressure on the ball and there's no pressure, and you can't do what Bayern did at times. It was just rush out with the head down and hope to catch people offside. It was Marquinhos to get in for the Neymar cross. I don't know if Sula was already injured, but he came out, he wasn't even looking, he was staring at the ground. So your positional sense when you play against a player like that has to completely change at times, and sometimes you're just going to drop off and try and hold a player up until you get support back in there, so that he hasn't got you one-on-one, or he hasn't got that space to run into. It's difficult when you're trying to play a certain way, as Bayern do, but it's something for them to think about next week or coming up before the next game, because if they don't, it could be one of the reasons that they head out. But let's be honest, and the difference between these teams is, if you take Mbappe out of PSG, they're screwed, right? Simple as that. I mean, Neymar's a talent, we know that, but I think at this level they're done. You could still talk about Bayern winning the Champions League, no doubt. Tougher, yes, but without Lewandowski, because they're a team. And they have others that can do a job of 40-plus goals a season, of course, but they have others that can sort of complement his absence, and they can still manage to put together, like they did today, a very good attacking performance to a point. Just didn't get maybe the rub of the green or that quality in the final third that might have seen them get 4 or 5, or as Shaq said, Keylor Navas making saves. With Mbappe, with PSG, it's different. They are so heavily reliant on that pace in behind. I think if Bayern can somehow nullify the majority of that, I see Bayern going through if they put in another performance like they did tonight, but just defend a little bit better.
Jurgen, how would you assess Neymar's performance today?
Oh, I thought he had a good performance. He had a good presence. Obviously, did his assists, but he was a team player. You know, he was helping out defensively. He tried to kind of get out there in counter breaks and make something happen. I think it was a very good professional performance by Neymar, especially after what happened on the weekend in the league. You know, he seemed balanced, he seemed calm, but he had a good, also physical presence. He took a couple of fouls, he just got up, he moved on right away. No, I got to give him a big compliment today.
Craig?
Yeah, actually, I thought there was, I mean, I know he was involved in a couple of the goals at least, but I actually thought in the second half in particular, he actually delayed a couple of passes, or a couple that he gave away that were simple, but he actually delayed a couple of passes when Mbappe had already made some very good runs, or at least 2. One in which he was right through, he was caught offside, and I thought if he was a little sharper in that passing, under no pressure and released it earlier, actually Mbappe would have been in more than he was. So yeah, it was a good performance away from home as a number 10 in behind. But I thought it could have been better with some of the runs that Kylian Mbappe made.
Jurgen, the Bayern team that finished the game very different to the Bayern team that started the match. You mentioned a couple of injuries, obviously a couple of tactical switches as the game went on. How much should Flick take responsibility for the fact that they were so open at the back throughout this game?
No, I think there's obviously, goals happen because you make mistakes. Otherwise, there are no goals at all. So they made, obviously, the first goal very unusual for Manuel Neuer that he lets that ball in from Mbappe. That's usually a shot he blocks easily, blindly he does that. Then, if you go through it, I think overall it was a very good performance of Bayern Munich. He had to make the adjustments with Goretzka and then also with Süle because of injuries. And they worked out well. I mean, especially Alphonso Davies on the left side then did a great job. And Alaba, he can play everywhere. He can play in center back, or he can play on the wings, or he can play also in defensive midfield. So that all played out fine for Hansi Flick. I think the only thing that didn't play out was they should have scored a couple of more goals because they had plenty of shots, plenty of opportunities. Now I think looking forward into next week's return match is going to be very interesting because Paris Saint-Germain, they need to get points in the league. They need to go with the best team possible in the next league game and get 3 points. Meanwhile, Bayern, they are 7 points clear from Leipzig. They can actually rotate a bit. They can give some players a rest and then go with all the energy that they need into that Tuesday's match. So the timing now of next week is becoming crucial as well. And that's why I'm from a Bayern Munich point of view, I'm actually fairly optimistic that they go through.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week, subscribe to ESPN+.